Halfway between Savannah, Georgia, and Jacksonville, Florida, lies a nature lover's dream vacation spot, the Golden Isles, with something for everybody, from luxurious accommodations and great golf courses to more modest spots with great marshlands for great relaxation and bike trails for outdoor exploration. Meet me at the table to hear more about Georgia's Golden Isles. I'm Lainie.
And I'm Laura Beth. And we are Steel Magnolias. The strength of steel
With the grace of a magnolia.
We are here to have uplifting conversations about life in the South.
And we've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Well, I think I heard you say nature lover's dream in your intro there, and I haven't been, so I'm going to be inquiring about different things as we do our chat today, but I did look through the visitor's guide online, which was one of the prettiest visitor's guides I've ever seen.
Was it from the Golden Isles,
Yes.
that visitor's guide?
Yes.
Okay.
So it included all of them that we're
Okay.
going to discuss today. But yes,
You inspired already?
wholeheartedly agreed this must be a nature lover's dream. In fact, I wrote that down, not knowing
What
that
I
you
was
were going
gonna
to say
say.
that. Yes.
It really is. And I think probably each of the islands kind of has its own expression,
yes.
which I'll kind of go, I've only been on 2 of them.
Yeah.
I haven't been on the others. But anyway.
Well, it's heavily awarded as an island set. I mean, heavily. It's oftentimes marked as one of the world's best islands in the continental U.S.
That says a lot.
It does. It really does. So kick us off and just tell us
Yeah.
kind of where to start.
Well, the Golden Isles is made up of 4 islands, and it also includes the inland port city of Brunswick, Georgia.
Okay.
This area has all that beauty of like live oaks and Spanish moss, which we've covered in other episodes. We'll have several episodes to link at the bottom if you want to go deeper into things like Spanish moss or marshes, the ecosystem of the marsh.
I love
But
that.
the marsh really makes for interesting kayaking and exploring of,
Sure does.
wildlife, that kind of thing. There's lots of dolphins and sea turtles in this area, so you're likely to perhaps see those kinds of things.
We have a sea turtles episode. You're right. There are lots of episodes we're probably going to
There really are
too.
that we can link.
And you just open the notes or the overview of the description of this episode, and there'll be links.
So
to the
we'll keep you
shows.
busy all week.
Yes.
Diving into this. But yeah, there is a wonderful resource online called goldenisles.com. They can also mail you an actual
You have the
very
physical
nice
copy.
physical copy of the visitor guide.
It's over 100 pages, and it's glorious.
I really recommend if you want to plan a trip, this resource includes even like pictures and details about different accommodations on each island, what the golf course opportunities are, just all the different
All
things.
the things.
And St. Simon and Jekyll Island are both very pet friendly. So that was appealing to me.
That's why you picked Jekyll.
Because Libby made her first trip to the beach,
love
and
it.
she was so great. She
Libby-
did great.
Libby, your Springer Spaniel.
Yes. So, if you're traveling with a pet, those are good options for you. And this visitor guide even includes some of that as well.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that if I just can jump in real quickly, I really like to know when I'm thinking about a place is like, how do you get there? Because like, especially with islands. So I did want to just say, since I had a little thing I wanted to look up, you can get to these islands by car, bus, train, or airplane. So that's very, very helpful. So this, like
That wasn't always the case
No.
when these were popular eons ago.
Right.
But now, yes, you drive right to it.
So as you were saying, I mean, we're talking about the coast between Savannah and Jacksonville. So you could fly to the Savannah or Jacksonville airport and then drive about 1 hour.
Yeah.
So there's a combo of transportation. There is a Brunswick Golden Isles airport, so you can fly directly into that. Not really sure what that costs.
what the cost of that is.
You drove. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure people knew that like there are multiple modes of transportation, and we're talking 280 miles southeast of Atlanta as well. So
that's good to know.
You went through Atlanta, right?
I did. Yeah.
So anyway, I just like
to
know.
And they're easy to go between one another. So if you decide to stay on one, you can see the others, with the exception of Sea Island. When I get to that, it's exclusively for guests. You can't even drive onto that one unless you're staying there.
Okay.
That's the super gated, luxurious one.
Okay.
So
okay.
I don't have as much to say because I haven't been there. But we'll start with St. Simon because it's the largest. So it's the largest of the 4 at 18 square miles.
Okay.
So still not very large. I made a stop here just to get information really for the podcast.
Yeah.
And I loved that it has a very large walkable pier. There was lots of people out fishing.
Cool.
On the pier. This is said to be one of only 3 in Georgia that extend into the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, wow.
And this island also has a very picturesque lighthouse.
Okay.
And it just makes for great photo.
And this is where you would beach if you were in Savannah. Like if you were doing Savannah, this might be where you would beach potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, you could. I think they have one called Tybee Island that's the closest.
Oh, that's closer. You're right.
But it's not part of this
You're right.
Particular group. But no, St. Simon's is easy to get to from
right.
Savannah. So you could put those two together.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful playground right by the water's edge that's near the pier for, kids to play on. Walking trails and benches. There's a little shopping village of boutique shops and all the usual beachy stuff that tourists love. And
get your souvenirs.
Lots of restaurant options and things like that. So St. Simon would definitely be a good spot to vacation at and build from. Again, if you're trying to make your decision on which one is right, I would go with the Golden Isles visitor guide to help steer your directions.
Yeah.
And each of these isles has their own, too. St. Simon Island has their own information if that's the one you land on. There's also Little St. Simon Island.
Okay.
And if seeing wildlife and the true ecosystem of the islands is appealing, this is your spot.
Okay.
This is 11,000 acres of marshes, forest, and beach to explore. You might see alligators, marsh rabbits, diamondback turtles, lots of birds and butterflies. There's very limited accommodations here. There's literally a 32-guest lodge.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Where you can stay overnight. That's literally the only structure on the island.
Whoa, okay.
So,
wonder if you can camp at all. That'd be something
good
interesting
question
to look into.
Perhaps. I'm not sure about that. Okay. You can also make this just a day trip. Like if you wanted to stay where there's more accommodations and then just make a day trip over here, you can. And in the fall and winter, the Little St. Simon's does a Friday night oyster roast. I thought that sounded so fun.
That does sound fun.
So if you want to make it a winter trip,
okay,
there you go.
That. Yeah, I could get lost in this visitor's guide. It says of Little St. Simon's Island, the only crowd on Little St. Simon's Island are the flocks of birds nesting in the dense canopy of maritime forest or waiting by water's edge.
Well, alrighty.
And this picture is glory. So,
well, yeah. One of the things I will say that I really enjoyed about this trip, and as far as the beaches go, is it moves at a very slow pace. Like it's not fast moving at all.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. Was just a true vacation.
Relax. Yes.
So I actually chose to stay on Jekyll Island.
Okay.
And it was just what I hoped for. Like I said, slow pace, just a wonderful spot for, I think I was there 3 nights. And just a great, deep breath place to enjoy.
Jekyll, in my mind, does not have a positive connotation. I'm like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Oh,
so I had to look up. I'm like, what's Jekyll?
Had you had heard of it?
Yes.
Before I went.
I'm like, why is it called Jekyll Island? Because these other ones, they're just named after saints. So right, or Sea Island, like that's not real peculiar, right? So I did look it up, and in 1733, General James Oglethorpe named Jekyll Island in honor of Sir Joseph Jekyll, his friend and financier from England. In the late 1800s, Jekyll Island became... Oh, I'm probably stealing your thunder here.
That's okay. Go ahead.
But that Jekyll Island became an exclusive hunting club.
Yes, I'll go into that in a moment.
For families with the names like Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Pulitzer,
Morgan. Some of those names you may know.
Yes. So anyway, I just wanted to know what's the Jekyll here.
Well, most of the shops and restaurants on this island, and probably all of them, are very mom and pop.
Cool.
Not really a lot of high rises or tons of shopping choices. That's what I wanted, was just the mom and pop feel.
Yeah.
But it's enough to keep your family entertained.
Okay.
It was just Mom and I and the dog.
Mm-hmm.
But I did notice Jekyll Island did have a small putt-putt course. There was a little water park. I mean, if you've got kids, they'll be entertained.
Okay.
It was a great choice of where to stay for a history lover.
Okay.
Because Jekyll Island has quite an interesting story. Like you made reference to, in 1886, a group of millionaires established an exclusive hunting club. It was made up of only 100 members and their guest.
Wow.
All those names you mentioned and more. But they would come to this island from January to March to get away from their high-profile lives and those northeast winters and just have time in the warmer weather with their families. It really blew my mind to know on this tiny island, I think you can drive one end to the other in 30 minutes in a car.
Wow.
1/6 of the world's wealth was on this island.
Oh my goodness.
January to March. Isn't that wild to think about?
That's wild to think about.
I did a wonderful trolley tour through the Mosaic Museum there on the island to hear the history of that Gilded Age time and see the cottages. I put that in quotes because they call them the cottages, but, these are mansions that these families lived in. And when you do the tour, you will get to go inside one of them. You don't know which one because they kind of vary it to keep the crowds.
Yeah.
They don't want too much coming and going.
Yeah.
And you can actually stay in the Jekyll Island Club Resort. It's part of this historic property.
Cool.
And this would have been where there was some fine dining rooms.
Yeah.
And, where they played croquet out on the lawn and strolled with their umbrellas and that kind of thing. I love all the nostalgia of that.
You do.
Now, the Gilded Age fell, and in 1947, this property became a Georgia state park.
Okay.
So that resort was a little out of my league price-wise, but there are other places you can stay on the island, and some of them are even well-known hotel brands, Marriott, Westin, those kind of names.
You've got points.
So if you've got points, that's might be an option for you. I had never experienced a beach where the tides mattered as much as here.
Like low tide, high tide, you're talking?
Yes. Okay. And how much it changed, like, in distance and how quick.
Oh, like you were moving your chair.
When we checked into the hotel, one of the first things they recommended was for me to take a photo of the tide schedule.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That they have posted at the desk. Because it really, you're going to have to plan around that.
And you've even stayed at a Tides Hotel in Folly Beach. That was the Tides Hotel. And I guess it didn't even have quite this drastic of a schedule.
Well, the tides just come in and out quite far. In a good way, it does cause the sand to be really hard packed.
Okay. Yep.
So that makes it really easy to walk on, to bike on.
Wow.
To walk the dog on.
Okay.
Like we had... no problems with deep sand.
Yeah.
And getting in the dog hair or anything. Like that made it quite easy.
That's awesome.
But you do have to move your station. I will call it.
Yeah.
Quite often if you're wanting to stay close to the water's edge.
Otherwise, you're just hiking
so if you're
to the water.
putting a tent up or something like that, you're going to probably need to put it back so that you have to walk up to the tide. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, just be aware of that when you're kind of making your plans for the day.
It's a good tip. Good pro tip.
Now, they have one beach here in Jekyll that's called Driftwood Beach.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Pictures galore, right?
I mean, just so unique. It's got this just like gnarled tree trunks and huge branches. It really does make for great places to sit or climb.
Is it easy to walk around?
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, are trekking poles required?
No.
Okay.
And from where you park, we're not talking a long way to get to it.
Okay.
So you could pack a picnic.
Okay.
Mom and I took a little margaritas and just walked down and, at sunset.
Your pictures were awesome. Oh, yes. And it was at the Golden Hour at the Golden Isles.
Just so wonderful to experience that. And some people had brought those tie-up hammocks.
Oh, cool.
To kind of hang out for a little while.
They just tied them off on the driftwood?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so definitely recommend seeing that if you make a trip to Jekyll Island, because it's just very unique looking. Maybe we can even put some pictures up on Instagram.
Oh, we will.
This week of what that looks like.
Are you going to talk about the turtle that you sent me a picture of?
Okay, so another fun thing to do on Jekyll Island, they have the Georgia Sea Turtle Center. And this is a sea turtle rehabilitation center.
I want a sea turtle now.
Oh my gosh. So
precious.
Mom wasn't as interested in seeing this, so I went by myself. And it's not very big. The place is not very big. I mean, if you do end up going and taking kids or something, we're literally talking an hour at most that you're going to spend here.
That's good to know.
You walk in, they start you with the gift shop,
of course.
With the cutest sea turtle stuff you've ever seen.
I'm glad you came home with some.
So yes, cute. I bought the cutest sea turtle stuffed animal, and they have the best choices of books.
Because they're so cute to illustrate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So anyway, then there was kind of some exhibits that you see on just about the lives of sea turtles. And there was one little small one in a tank that you could see really close up and watch his movements. I have a video of that. I don't know if we would want to share that. But anyway, I'm kind of looking around like, wow, was that it? I didn't see any injured sea turtles. This is kind of weird. And then I realized there's an area where you go outside.
Okay.
And there's an outdoor part.
Okay.
And that's where they're doing the work, if you will.
Okay.
And where you're going to actually get to view these adorable little patients.
Oh.
So they have these swimming pools that are above ground.
Yeah.
Tanks, if you will.
Yeah.
And I would say, I didn't count, but I would say there's a dozen of them. And sometimes a turtle might have the whole thing, or sometimes they've got it divided where there's one on either side. But it can be a range of things that's happened to the sea turtles, and they are helping get them back to whatever's going to be best, whether that's going back out into the ocean again. One of the ones that I made a little video of for your son won't ever get to go back out into the ocean.
Really?
But he'll get well enough to go to an aquarium.
Okay.
So, they're doing what they can. But yeah, he had been hit by a boat. And so he has a hole in his shell that makes his bottom go up. And so they have to weight it down.
Oh.
And they're tending him to get it all healed up, but I don't think his back legs will ever work. So he's not going to make it in the ocean.
That's sad.
But they take such good care of them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's really cute to see. They all have, their name where you can see them. And obviously you're not getting crazy close to these. I mean, you can see them swimming around and just how they play and enjoy, the time they have there. But there's a doctor that's kind of walking around and tending them, and other volunteers. One of the ones I saw had pneumonia, and I don't know why I've never thought of a turtle having respiratory issues. I just thought, well, that's interesting.
That is amazing that they knew that.
Yeah, so they're tending his, and that one will be able to go back out once it's healed and whole. So if you find animal rehabilitation interesting, this will be a little heartwarming hour to spend.
Yes. I actually thought, I would say I think about sea turtles often because I still cut up my plastic that comes around.
Oh, yeah.
Bottles,
Gatorade
Me too,
bottles. Because they say they get stuck on them, on there. I don't know if that's true, but we bought into it.
I was told in elementary school that that's how a lot of aquatic critters get
stuck, and it gets lodged.
Stuck as their head goes through it or whatever. So I still cut those up.
And it does look like movement, like a jellyfish or something in the water. You can see why they would be even drawn to it.
Yeah. Let me know if we're not supposed to be cutting those up anymore, because that's something it takes a little time. Doing.
Me too. The other island is Sea Island, which I made reference to. This is a private resort open to members and resort guests only. Literally the island gate, there's somebody standing there to check you in. So it's known for impeccable service, 5-star accommodations, 3 championship golf courses, fine dining. It's these gorgeous Mediterranean style architecture of buildings called the Cloister, the Lodge, the Sporting Club. If luxury is what you're looking for, this might be the island you should choose.
All right.
Fancy spa and all the things.
It does sound very fine. Very fine.
So, Sea Island. Now, Brunswick is the port city, has a really rich heritage in Georgia's history. This is one of the largest ports on the East Coast, dating back to George Washington's day.
Wow.
It's literally the gateway to the Golden Isles. In fact, before there were cars and bridges to get to these islands, you would come to Brunswick, and then you would ferry over to the island you were going to.
Yeah.
So when we're talking Rockefellers and Vanderbilts and all of them coming, they would have come into Brunswick. And then it's interesting that on Jekyll, that big club is actually on the riverside. It's not on the ocean side.
Okay.
Because they would have kind of ferried over.
Okay, I'm looking at a map now. Yeah.
With their Louis Vuitton trunk and staff. And so they would have come into the riverside because that's where their entrance would be.
Okay.
Anyway, Brunswick includes a historic downtown area and an old city hall with this lovely clock tower, little waterfront park, and a historic theater. It's actually the largest historic district in Georgia.
Wow. I'm looking at pictures. Isn't
it adorable?
Cute. Yes.
Victorian architecture, lots of shops and restaurants to try the local fare. And speaking of local fare, it is rumored that this is where Brunswick stew came from.
Okay.
Which we can put a link to our stews episode where we talked about.
Stews and Burgoos, I believe was the name of that. Soup, stews, and burgoos.
Yes. Yeah, Low Country Boil is another local fare we've talked about on the podcast. We've got all kinds of links to put up on this one. Anyway, the city is laid out kind of similar to Savannah with the signature squares in these neat grid formations. Kind of allows for just enjoying fountains and benched areas of green space in the midst of the city. So I didn't explore this, and it's on my list now.
Yeah, it looks really pretty. I mean, like you were saying, Victorian architecture with palm trees all around
I know,
like it's very cool.
That's a cool pairing.
Mix. Yeah.
So that's on my list. And that little historic theater, I was thinking Philip may want to plan an event there just so we can all go.
The Ritz.
I think it is 400 some odd.
Yeah, almost 500. Yeah.
So anyway.
Wow.
Visit Brunswick. Visit the Golden Isles.
So I would say if you like marshes, beaches, and a slow pace of a vacation, man, this is your spot. Or if you just need a picturesque place for some outdoor photos, any of these places.
Yeah, just pick one.
Would do just fine.
Now, I think this would make for a great girls trip.
Okay.
So why don't y'all tag your friends you want to make your next plan on a girls trip with, and share this episode with them.
That's a great idea. Get them all excited together.
Get them excited and get to planning. So I think my next trip, I want to see Brunswick, and I want to go over to the Little St. Simon.
Okay. That looks good. Wow.
I don't know if I'm ready to kayak where gators might be.
Well, I was going to say.
I'm going to be real honest with y'all. I'm not fast moving enough for that.
Well,
but it does sound amazing.
I came across a show called Billy the Exterminator this week where they were catching a gator to relocate him to a safer place, or safer for the private owner of the property.
Oh my gosh, right?
That was get this gator out of here. So yeah, I'm with you. Kayaking in this marshy kind of area is a little scary.
Yeah, but that might be a little too close to nature for me. But I want to see it from the dock.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us a little recap. Your pictures were great, so I will put some of those up on Instagram this week, and y'all be sure and follow us there at Steel Magnolias Podcast. We appreciate you hanging with us. We'll see you next time here at the table. Y'all have a great week. Bye.
Peace be with y'all.